Welcome back to Nebraska Hawks Nest. We are fortunate to be joined with former Iowa Hawkeye D lineman from 2013 to 2017, Nathan Bazata. How's it going, sir?
Pretty good. Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Oh, yeah.
We need to kind of start out. You got a new addition to the family. Can we talk a little bit about the beautiful bundle of joy you got?
Oh, yeah. Yep. She was born last Monday, so it only was a couple weeks, and so she's doing really good. So,
Are you getting any sleep?
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
My wife, not so much. So,
Yeah.
but
All right.
she's pretty laid back, and our first one, Reese, she's only 16 months old, and she was pretty easygoing, and this one is too. So.
That's good. That's good. I've had a little bit of everything with my kids. My son got up a lot in the middle of the night. My daughter was like, first night home, she slept 6-7 hours straight. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what you need right there. So you got two girls. And how old is your oldest girl?
16 months.
16 months.
Yep.
All right. Very cool. I wanted to get started off a little bit about your recruiting process. Coming out of high school, it's obviously I followed you out of high school and into college, and it looks like you had some interest from like South Dakota State, Iowa, and some other schools. What are some of the schools that were really hot on you, and how did that recruiting process go? And tell me a little bit about those relationships that you built during that process.
Well, South Dakota State started recruiting me first, and my oldest brother played up there, a D lineman as well. And so I knew those coaches. They were like family to me. And they offered me right after I got my Iowa offer, and went up there for a couple visits. And it was just, I knew the campus. I knew just their facilities and stuff like that. And that was pretty sweet. And then Iowa offered me, and went out there for junior day, and went out there for a couple camps, and just things felt a little different out there.
Yeah.
My daughter.
That's okay, man. You're a family man now. That's how it is.
I know.
That's totally cool.
But yeah, went out there, and things felt a little different out there. I mean, just coaches, when I first walked on campus and stuff, like I was there for a camp, and then went there just for a visit here and there, and they knew everything about my family. It seems like they did their research. They knew how many siblings I had, and like obviously I think my dad took me on my first visit there, and we watched spring ball and stuff like that. And
Okay.
coaches knew his name and stuff like that. And when we went to Nebraska, they really didn't know anything about me, my family, or anything like that. So it was kind of way different. So
You're a Nebraska kid, like born and raised, and you went on a recruiting trip there, and they didn't really seem to have done any research on you then.
yeah, exactly. So
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes things easy. That really shows you that, what program really cares about you and wants to get to know you as a person and does the research. And I think that's awesome that you took note of that and made that, a priority in the process. Have you gotten a lot of pushback and a lot of crap from family members for being, such a recognizable Hawkeye? Did you convert any family members, or are they all still pretty hardcore Husker fans?
they're pretty hardcore Husker fans. So I mean, I got a lot of flack for going over there, but I mean, I did what's best for me, and I'm a Hawkeye in my blood now. So I mean, I love everything about the program, and if I'd have to make a decision again, I would do it all over again.
Well, that's good because I know as fans, we loved having you there. You were a really pivotal part of that program the whole entire time that you were there. And so that great pipeline into Nebraska, those kids that, we kept going over that weren't getting recruited, like you and like Drew Watt and, guys like Noah Fant that we were able to bring over that have been huge contributors to the program and had really, really great careers. So yeah, we're pretty happy we had you too. So it's been awesome. One thing I was really impressed about with you too is your consistency being academic all Big Ten. You weren't there just to play football. You were a pretty serious student the whole time you were there. Tell me about how difficult that was with time management, with, a conditioning, weight room, practice, having any kind of social life. I'm not sure if you did, when you were there, and with academics, being able to be such a high level student. How did that process work for you?
Well, I can tell you I wasn't that way in high school. But once I got there, I knew I had goals, and I set goals before I got there, and I didn't want my academics to be a problem with my with playing football. So, I mean, I really had no social life. I mean, I lived with Drew, and I mean, pretty much we would wake up, go to practice, lift weights, all sorts of stuff, and go to class. In between classes, we were doing our homework or something like that. And I mean, any downtime, honestly, was taking a nap. So had to get as much sleep as possible. Every day was a big day, and you had to come prepared. So
that had to have been a pretty interesting place with you and Drew living there, and you guys were both rocking the mullets there for a while. I talked to Drew about that a little bit. Tell me about whose idea was that, having those mullets, and did you get a lot of crap for that? And a little bit too, not too many questions in one, but I need to know, is there any cool stories with living with Drew? Anything weird or nutty that had ever happened?
So when I went on a couple, I think it was out there on my official visit or something like that, and Drew already had the mullet then, and he rocked it until all through his senior year. So, and then I never really had one until my last year. So his was a lot better, but I he was growing his for a few years, but other than living with him, I mean, we watched a lot of a Naked and Afraid
Okay.
on Discovery Channel and all that, and then pretty much him eating raw eggs in the evenings before he would go to bed and stuff like that. So
Okay.
a little off, but whatever.
Did he ever get you to try one?
I did, but I did not like the texture at all. So
Yeah.
I would crack them open and put them in a beer or something like that, but that's about it.
Okay. Yeah.
So
All right. I bet that was a pretty interesting apartment to be in. So
yeah, we had what was it? There's I think 6 of us living in that house, and I actually was living in an entryway. So I got the cheap rent, about $200 a month. So everybody else
okay.
paying 300. So
Oh, I remember that from college. Like if there was a house with a walk-in closet, guys would like sublet that out to another buddy, like $150. You can sleep in this closet. We'll throw a mattress in here and some sheets. But yeah, you live
yeah,
economically when you're in college.
yeah. Then funny story. So I we graduated or whatever, and I got married March right after I graduated, and my wife moved back as I was working out still in Iowa City, and both of us lived in the entryway closet for a while. So we called it the honeymoon suite. So
That's when you know she's a keeper. If she's willing to do something like that, then that's a
exactly. She was
that's a
committed. So
that's a pretty great girl right there. Then,
oh
oh,
yeah,
it's moments like that where you kind of sit back. You're like, okay, I chose the right one.
yeah,
She's pretty committed. She's a good girl. So
yeah. She was
that's
able to put up with that. So
yeah. Well, those are little signs like that in the dating process. Things that happen. We're like, all right, I'm not going to find anybody like this probably anywhere else. She's pretty legit. So
exactly.
that's awesome. So a lot of people that know about your career is, you used to wrestle in high school and things like that. Tell me about how amateur wrestling helped you in your football game, because I know Iowa coaches have been noted numerous times of they love, especially guys that play on the line, guys that have wrestled in the past, because you learn leverage, body control, and how to get somebody to bend to your will. Tell us a little bit about how wrestling aided you in your football game.
Yeah, just like you said, leverage and balance and all that, and then I would say just toughness, being able to outwork the guy you're going against every day and every game, So just trying to, it was a big part of in breaking the other guy's will. So, I mean, wrestling practice, I mean, in high school was long, and you had to have a lot of grit to get through it. And every play, that's what it was like. It was like going through wrestling practice. So
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. It's a lot of kids are, I feel like starting to figure that out. It seems like especially small town kids have rural kids have figured that out that, if you want to have take your football career maybe to the next level and to give you a little bit of an edge, that wrestling can really provide that. So, during practice and in the locker room and games, who would you point to and say, yeah, that guy is one tough son of a gun, like that brought it consistently? About every guy that former player that we've interviewed, love hearing the stories about this. There's always seems to be one or two guys that you're like, God, that guy's insane. Can you think of anybody like that you played with over your years that just impressed you on a pretty consistent basis?
I would say Josie Jewell. Like, he came to practice every day, and the energy was awesome, and he had a way of pushing guys. So, and just his personality, everything. He was a farm boy as well, and just showed his grit during practice, and that kind of just rubbed off on everybody.
Yeah, he seemed like a big leader on the field too. Did that leadership from Josie transfer onto the weight room and other areas, or was that mostly just like he's one of the field generals?
Yeah, I mean, it went through conditioning and we had GPP and stuff, and just throughout the weight room. I mean, it went all through every aspect of the locker room, practice, weightlifting, all that stuff. So.
And it seems like every class has one or two guys like that step up into the leadership role and really set the example. So you could really tell just, from an outside perspective looking in that, Josie was definitely one of those guys. And it's cool to see him have success with the Broncos and
Yeah.
see everything going well for him right now. One of the coolest things you've ever done, I don't know if you know how popular you are for this. Do you know what I'm going to say here?
I think so.
Throwing the bones, baby. When you did that, how cool was that? I mean, I'm telling you, as a fan, we came unglued when you did that. Like, the roof back came off the place. How therapeutic was that? And how good did that feel to, the supposed black shirts, throwing the bones in their own stadium in, the state that you grew up in, and they didn't really, give you the effort of giving you, a proper recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up always wanting to throw the bones, and I thought, well, maybe one day I'd play for the Huskers, but playing at Iowa and being able to throw the bones in their stadium and stuff, and just, I mean, it gives me goosebumps even talking about it. I mean, it's something that I'll never forget, and I hope every fan that's watched that game won't forget. So, and I know just coming home, like, I think I would have been over Thanksgiving break and stuff like that. We had about a week off, and I was actually, after that game, I went home with my parents, and so I spent the weekend and a couple extra days in Nebraska, and just the talk on the radio and stuff just had me rolling every time I would drive somewhere, just like, because they did not like that. So.
Oh, I'm sure not. Did you have that planned, or is that something you were just like, I'm doing it right now? It's just like spur of the moment.
I honestly, I think a couple days before, I was talking to my cousin, and I told him that if I make a play, I was going to throw the bones, but I wanted to throw the bones and have the middle fingers up, but I guess that would probably wouldn't have went over well on the sideline. So,
well, why don't you let's throw them up right now? Do it right now. Give us the bones right now.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well,
we were, clearly the real black shirts, and
yeah.
it showed on a pretty consistent basis. Most of your time at Iowa, pretty much every year, you guys were successful in that Heroes game. How did that feel being so consistently successful in that game, because let's be honest, that game had to mean a lot to you, and being able to carry that massive trophy into the locker room and celebrate with your teammates. Tell me a little bit about how that felt and maybe the atmosphere during that game.
I mean, when I went there, I wanted to beat them so bad, and I think we went 4-1 when I was there, and the most meaningful was my senior year. We won on their turf, and I was pretty emotional in the locker room because just I didn't even get a chance there. I mean, not a walk on anything, so that just meant a lot to me. And I just remember thanking Coach Ferentz after the game and just telling him thank you for taking a shot on me, and I hope you didn't regret it, pretty much. So
I'm sure they did not. How did it feel in the locker room? What was that atmosphere like, especially even just a trophy game in general? Floyd of Rosedale, Heroes game, the Heartland Trophy, Cyhawk, any of those. When you're in the locker room, that's just got to be a next level experience, being able to bring that trophy back in.
Oh yeah, it's incredible feeling, and it's something that's like once in a lifetime feeling, and a guy's emotional and excited. So I mean, there's nothing better.
That's awesome. Well, you know what? Like I said, I'll say this a million times. Kirk, and I believe was it Coach Morgan that was really recruited you?
Yep.
And,
Yep. Coach Morgan came down for a few visits in school and stuff, and I remember getting pulled out of class and didn't even know who I was meeting or anything like that. And he was actually the day before meeting with Drew. So
okay.
But yeah, and then just going on campus and just everybody there felt like family, and I, like I said before, I knew I wanted to go there after my first visit. So
Well, that's great. And, Coach Morgan he developed a reputation over the years for finding diamonds in the rough. And that's what they definitely felt like, that, being from a small town, a lot of times those kids can be overlooked and not get quite as much exposure. And they do a good job they're doing their due diligence and looking around, every corner and every small town to see where there's talent. And, they definitely scored big finding you out here in Northeast Nebraska. So that
from a
was
small eight man school, and so
those 8-man kids can play though. Like, you can't overlook those guys.
Exactly. I think it was in my first year starting, there was a three of us that on the line that were 8-man starter or came from 8-man schools. So
yeah.
So
I think it definitely opened up some eyes to a lot of recruiters out there. Like, hey, these guys can go, and we're definitely happy that you came to be a Hawkeye. One thing I'm curious about: how often does your last name get butchered? I'm sure that like throughout your life, people just destroy it. I can tell you, when you first came to Iowa, even in your recruiting process, I must have said, Bazata probably, at least 5 times. And then we finally figured it out. How often does that happen to you?
Oh, pretty much every day, to be honest. I mean, everybody says Bazata or any and Budgeta, like Budgeta, and that's how they think it's spelled or whatever. So I mean, I'm used to it by now. So
yeah. No, I'm sure. And, before we got to tell everybody too, before the interview, you rightfully so called me out. I ran into you at a gas station. What town was that again?
Oh, that was in Beamer. I remember.
Beamer?
Yeah, I ran into you in Beamer, and you were wearing your Hawkeye stuff, and I was like, oh, that guy looks familiar. And I just remember saying "Go Hawks," and you turned around and was like, yeah, damn, or something like, damn right, go Hawks. And walked out, and so yeah.
Yes, you said you were kind of dirty and covered in grease. If I would have realized that was you, I would have stopped, talked to you for a while, taken a picture. I'm like, my head was like wasn't even paying attention. So I'm pretty embarrassed by that. I'm glad you called me out on it, because that's well deserved. I should be called out on that. So, with that in mind, I'm going to have to give you like the straight up invitation that to come out for a game or two this season to the Nebraska Hawks Nest here, and I'll provide the beer, and we'll watch the Hawkeyes together, and we'd love to have you out and have you hang out for at least a game or two and bring the whole family out. We got a pretty big pond out here. You can do a lot of good fishing. So,
all righty, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, bring your poles. Come on out. We got a lot of fish in there that I need to get out of there. So you can come out and come help us out. And we like to fish out there quite a bit in the summer. It's right out the backyard. So pretty cool little setup. So
it sounds pretty sweet.
Yeah. One other thing, we really wanted to talk about too is, a little bit of the stuff that, went on over the summer about the culture in the weight room and the locker room. I like to get just a feel of some of the guys, how you felt while you were at the program with the culture in the weight room, the locker room, and what was your thoughts on everything that kind of transpired with that?
Well, my time being there, I never seen it. I mean, the coaches are gonna push you and be hard on you. I mean, because they got a job to do, and their job is to win. And if they got guys in there that aren't doing what it takes, I mean, they're gonna get them out of there. I mean, and get guys that are gonna be willing to put in a lot of work and take a lot of crap, and be like tough guys. So,
yeah.
And I mean, that's what it takes to win. So.
And like kind of what Drew talked about when we spoke with him is it was nothing more than just the Iowa way. And it was consistent across the board for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had a set standard, and I mean, if you didn't meet that standard, I mean, they were going to let you know about it. So, I mean, I remember being a freshman in there and not doing something right. And I mean, they were quick to point me out on it. So,
yeah,
I mean, they had high expectations of everybody. So,
yeah, from everything that I've heard too, it was a very consistent expectation from, every single player across the board. So, it's something that, when you're running especially a developmental program like Iowa, who doesn't necessarily always want the 5-star guys that come in with, the expectations and saying that, they feel like they're the star. They want to come in and get those guys that are the 3 of the, some 4-star, but, a lot of 3-star guys that, maybe were overlooked, but are high character, good students, involved in a lot of different sports. There's a lot more that goes into it for Iowa football recruiting process than just, being a 5-star kid. They want that integrity. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And they go off your character and all that. And I mean, they get a lot of 2, 3-star guys. I mean, because they got something to prove. I mean, they've obviously been overlooked, and they wanna prove something. And Iowa is very good at developing those guys and giving them a chance at the next level after college. So
yeah, and I think this recruiting class that we have coming in next year is the best class that Kirk and his staff has ever had, and we're still 5th or 6th in the conference in overall recruiting. So, but it's about the substance of the player and what he's going to do once you get in the door. Because you could be a 5-star kid and you come in and you don't work hard, then it's just not going to work out. So
exactly,
yeah. Tell us a little bit about too, like, was there any in the locker room, any type of guy that was just like a jokester that was just funny to be around, an electric personality that, even when things were getting tough in practice in the locker room, that just kept a smile on everybody's face?
I mean, there's quite a few guys. I mean, it was kind of, I don't know, a lot of guys just kind of joked around. I mean, Bo Bauer is one of them that I'd put out there. I mean, in the locker room and in like the recovery tubs and pool and stuff like that, just kind of kept it light. Sam Brinks is one I would mention as well. I mean, they just kind of kept it lighthearted. I mean, after workouts, just after we'd have a very painful workout, I mean, tough, and coming in there and being like, oh, that was kind of a cakewalk or something like that. I mean, just kind of lighthearted, kept everybody in a good mood, after we went through a lot. So
cool. What was your relationship like with Coach Ferentz and Coach Parker during your time there? And what are some of the things that you enjoyed most about playing for both of them?
They were awesome guys. I mean, Coach Ferentz is like a father figure, and same with Coach Parker. I mean, they would do anything for you. They expect a lot out of you, and yeah, they every day during practice just pushed me to be the player I was out there. So, and the person I am today. So.
Yeah, that's one thing I've always been surprised about with Coach Parker is whenever they talk about the best, like the top assistants in the country, I don't know why his name never gets brought up. He just flies under the radar and does a consistently great job every single year, and his name never really comes up for head coaching positions or anything like that. It seems like his focus is just being the best defensive coordinator he can possibly be at the University of Iowa, and not one of those guys that's ever really flirted with any other jobs. So that always has just surprised me how he's consistently been overlooked. But again, with Coach Parker, and you tell me if I'm wrong, it doesn't seem like that's something that would really matter to him.
Oh no, yeah, like I was gonna say that anyway. I mean, he doesn't really care about that stuff. I mean, he's just doing his job, and I mean, and just some of the coaching decisions that were very good. I mean, he gets pointed out to him, and he don't want all the praise or anything like that. He's a very humble guy. So,
yeah, well, that's good to hear, and you can kind of feel like you can see that as a fan that's conveyed when he's on the field as well. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us. We really appreciate it, and thank you to everything you've done as a Hawkeye. We're really proud to have had you a part of the program, and again, congratulations on being again a new dad, a girl dad, and all the stress that's to come with being a girl dad, and everything like that. So congratulations. Tell your wife we said congratulations, and just glad everyone's happy and healthy.
Thank you very much. So,
all right. Well, Nathan Bazata, go Hawks, and thanks for coming
Hawks.
on with us. And I'm hoping to have you. Absolutely, man, and hoping to have you out here to the man cave to maybe have a couple beers and watch the Hawkeyes have a great 2021 season.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to do that.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. See ya.